If you want to stay up to date with all current hip hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to become part of this community. Someone who I am very excited about dropping a new album in 2021 is none other than Roddy Ricch, and I feel like a lot of you feel the same way because that is kind of like the vibe that I get from the comments under my videos about him. Roddy Ricch is someone whose latest project, Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, which dropped in December of 2019, was one of the best albums of that year and did very well commercially. It featured his, number one hit, The Box, and also he was featured on DaBaby's Rockstar, and that scored him another number one in 2020. And so, of course, everybody's looking to him to drop something in 2021. And as I've already explained in some other older videos going over evidence that he gave us for a new project, he is now gearing up to release Feed the Streets 3. Now, if you're not too familiar with Roddy Ricch, I mean, you've probably heard about Feed the Streets 2, stuff on there was like Down Below or Die Young or Every Season, songs like that, like the songs that he was famous for, but you didn't have him blow up on like a international global level that The Box did, for example. But anyway, so the third installment in this mixtape series that of course fans are very excited for because that is a fan favorite of any Roddy Ricch fan, for him to drop these Feed the Streets tapes. Now he's gearing up to release the third installment of that series, which of course is very exciting. And I'm looking forward to that very much. I feel like the Feed the Streets tapes always have a very, different character than Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial did, which was studded with a lot of features, which is, of course, okay. It was his debut studio album with a major record label, and so, of course, that was what they were going to go for. And he did it in a very good way. So no no selling out, no selling his soul at this point, like many others have done, getting a Chris Brown feature. But he did it in a good way. So I'm not mad for him for trying to make his debut studio album the way it turned out to be. And it was actually really good. The music was still good, and his performances on there were still really good. So no hard feelings about that. But now gearing up for Feed the Streets 3, he did an interview with Complex, for which latest issue he was the cover story. And with this, as I said, of course, comes an interview. And in this interview, he had some stuff to say about his next project, which is going to be Feed the Streets 3. I'm just going to read his answers and his statements out to you right now. He said, "With my next project, I'm going to be more vulnerable. I'm going to bring fans into my world more. I'm learning the balance. Like, okay, I'm not on Instagram, so I feel like I've got to bring them into my life more so they can feel me a little more. I ain't worried about hits. I've been paying closer attention to detail recently. I feel like I'm a perfectionist. I just like things to be right. Going into my next album, I want to tap into something that's timeless." And you know me, I love stuff like this. I love when an artist kind of realizes his artistic potential and doesn't just, want to make hits, but is actually concerned about the art that is underlying their whole craft. And this is great news to me. Now, something that I've also found interesting is that we've seen him talk about his next release being this full-blown masterpiece, and that he's a perfectionist with it, and he wants everything to be perfect. And he's now talking about Feed the Streets 3, and I always thought those were separate projects. I thought Feed the Streets 3 was just going to be the mixtape with, just bars over beats for the hardcore fans, and then he was going to have a separate album, being this full-blown masterpiece, and him being a perfectionist, and him trying to evolve with his music and artistically. But apparently, as it seems, these two projects are the same. So Feed the Streets 3 is going to be his full-blown masterpiece, which I think is interesting. I don't know if that is the right way to go. I feel like maybe disconnecting something from an already established series would have allowed him to be more experimental with it, to kind of maybe even push his musical artistry a bit further, because this way he's kind of constrained to staying in the same lane of the first two Feed the Streets tapes, which I always think is, it's not good to have albums be compared to their successors. Best example, I made a whole video about this. Bryson Tiller, who didn't do too well with Anniversary for the just for the reason that it was always compared to Trap Soul, and that he really directly tried to connect it to Trap Soul. But anyway, getting back to Roddy Ricch, I hope that he's able to pull this off. I have my worries about this, hearing this, but I hope that Roddy's able to pull it off. Now, he said some more things too. Let's get into them. Coming off of one of the biggest albums I could have done, I feel like taking them back to the basics with me. There's all the old fans I had when I first started rapping, and these new fans that I got since the big album and Grammys and everything. So I want to bridge the gap between my old fans and my new fans. That's what I'm on a mission to do with this next situation that I'm working on. Now, this, of course, to me, sounds exactly like what I just said. He's trying to take that old concept of the Feed the Streets tapes that, of course, he garnered his main fan base and his core fan base around. And then there's also, of course, all the people from TikTok that just did the box challenge and that know him from Rockstar and all these other big songs that he was on. So when he's trying to bridge the gap between these two, and I think that's a good thing to do. I think that's a good thing to reflect on in his career, but I hope that this is the right way to go. I really want Roddy Ricch to be somewhat of like the next Kendrick Lamar, who, Roddy is also very quiet on social media. He's dialed back his public appearances, and I feel like he's someone very focused on his craft and on his music, and lets the music speak for itself. And I really hope that he doesn't restrain himself and put a limit to his greatness by releasing this new music under an old label that maybe, kind of puts his music into a category already before releasing it. But anyway, that's my concern with it. Let me know what you think about Roddy Ricch's comments on Feed the Streets 3. Do you still believe there is a separate album other than Feed the Streets 3 coming? And what do you think about his statements being a perfectionist and kind of dialing back his social media game and wanting to really, having everything right on this new record, not paying attention to hits and all that? Let me know in the comments down below. I think this is very interesting to talk about. I think Roddy Ricch is one of the most, potential holding new artists in this new generation, and I'm looking forward to a bright future of his. So let me know what you think about this in the comments down below, and let's talk about this. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media and blog down in the description. It really helps me out. Until the next one, y'all have an incredible day, and y'all take care.